and welcome to Encouraging Leadership, conversations that mobilize today's women leaders, with your host, Ann Miner. Meet leaders who share their observations, knowledge, insight, and perspectives to mobilize you to apply your own leadership in business and in life. Here's your host, Ann Miner.
Well, hello and welcome. This is Ann Miner, your host of Encouraging Leadership, conversations to mobilize today's women leaders. Today I have with me Jane Ross, and Jane grew up in a family-owned bakery business, Imperial System of Baking, which her grandfather started back in the early 1920s. Her mother and father took over the bakery business, where Jane learned the importance of having high-quality goods and outstanding customer service. Jane was successful in the business world, achieving highest sales awards in Canada, working for a national retail chain in their travel division since 1979. Continuing her success, Jane has joined Constance Madigan to open Alante Beauty Institute and Alante Beauty Supply and Spa. Jane, welcome.
Thank you, Anne. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm so pleased that you're here to talk with us today. And let's just start with, how did your previous job experience assist you in transitioning to your new leadership role with Alante Beauty Institute and Alante Beauty Supply and Spa?
Well, I'm going to take you back where you talked about where I grew up in a bakery business. So from a small infant, I watched my mom and dad grow a local bakery business in Brantford. And what I saw my mom and dad doing is that they offered a quality product, great bread, bread, cakes, and then on top of that, wonderful customer service. So they had a great client, a repeat client that came back week after week for their standing orders of breads and cakes. And on top of that, hard work. So it was a 7-day a week, even though, yes, we did go to church on Sunday, but after church, we would come back to the bakery to wash the floors, clean the windows, prepare for the next day. So I believe that gave me the foundation of how to behave or learn some skill to become the manager at Sears Travel, mostly in Kitchener. So Sears was a great corporation and is a great corporation to work for. So Sears felt that training was very important, and being that we were in the travel industry, the company flew us to many places around the world, and we would have our annual managers conferences. So I was lucky enough to experience the Disney business management. So we went through, lots and lots of business management, business training, how to build businesses. In my role as a manager, we managed millions of dollars of travel business within one branch. The corporation knew that local marketing was very important to that particular branch, so it was important that the branch manager understood the demographics of the area, what publications are our clients reading, what radio stations are they listening to, for us to do our own local marketing. Mm-hmm. As a manager, I led by example, so there was nothing that I was not willing to do as a manager that I would ask my staff to do. So I would be in there stamping brochures, which typically was a junior consultant's job to do, but as a branch manager, I still did that right until the day I retired. I think motivating, I learned over the years that managing people is probably one of the most difficult thing to do. And I think if you have good psychology, education would be a benefit. So because everybody's motivated in different ways, and we'd always have goals to achieve within the travel office. But I think respect, so respecting your staff, understanding that we just don't all have business lives, that we have personal lives, and sometimes it's hard for our employees to manage both at the same time. I think that operating a business or the travel business, we had a lot of different hats on. So, and I'm finding that here with the school that I am it for all departments. So I am the HR manager here. I am the accountant, the marketer, the maintenance person, and the janitor. So I take on a lot of different roles. I also learned it, but I think too, I know you're asking me about my previous position, but I do have two children, boys, and they have taught me that patience is important with your staff, with the students, and especially here at the school where students are learning. So patience is probably the number one thing that you need to do. There were always lots of audits going on in my previous job, and so running a private career college, we are operated by the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities. So there's always audits, dotting I's, crossing T's. So again, my previous experience is helping me there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes. Well, you've touched on so many areas. I think one of them in particular that's so important is the respect factor.
Correct.
And you know, Jane, I read an appalling statistic just yesterday, and it was this, that 40% of employees, and I'm not sure if that's North America wide, I suspect it's American data, but nevertheless, 40% of employees reported that they experienced bullying in their workplace on a weekly basis. So that's an appalling statistic.
Exactly.
And certainly, this concept of treating your employees with respect and having them treat one another with respect is fundamental in, eradicating bullying from the workplace.
For sure. And it's very important in a school because once our students leave us, they've graduated through their hairstyling programs, going out into the workplace, so leaving us. It's huge behaviors of an employee is so important to an employer. So going back to my previous job, I would think back in the 80s, we were already doing behavioral interviewing. So giving potential employees situations and asking them how they would manage that situation. And again, today, it's more and more employers are looking at that behaviors, respect is so important.
Well, the other thing that you and I have talked about when it comes to, advancing as a leader in particular, is the necessity to have courage.
Correct.
And so maybe you would share with our listeners some of the areas where you've needed to have courage as you transitioned into this new role as the leader in a beauty school.
So I guess that it's part of my personality is to never give up, and I think that that's a good trait to have in any business. Perseverance. And also just taking each day one step at a time. You're always going to be running into situations, especially in a new business, and this is a new field for me. So I've transitioned from travel to beauty, and it's quite a different world from travel to beauty, and it took me a long time to sell a bottle of shampoo. And I would often say to my business partner, I don't understand why I can send people around the world and they come home happy and safe, and I can't sell a bottle of shampoo. So there's lots of learning that I've journeyed through trying to sell this bottle of shampoo, and I can say today it's taken me 3 years, but I can now sell a bottle of shampoo. So there's a lot more to the hairstyling industry than I think that people, they possibly think that it's an easy trade, it's an easy industry, but it's not. So it's ever changing, often by the red carpet. So every celebrity that steps onto the red carpet has a new hairstyle, and immediately we're getting calls into the school asking our students to replicate and our teacher the style that has they've just seen. So it's just I guess every day taking one step at a time, never giving up. I can remember back probably my most frightening experience was having to get up in front of people and do public speaking, because that was not easy for me, nor was it easy in school to get up in front of a class and speak. So over the 32 years of my career at Sears, I went from my voice shaking in front of probably 10 people to sound, or what people say, I sound confident speaking at our cruise nights in front of 300 people. So it was a journey of many, many years of getting there. But again, I never gave up from the beginning, where I was embarrassed with my voice shaking. And then it would get less and less and less over the years as I continued to do public speaking. So that was probably the most challenging. Some of my colleagues did not like customer service issues, and I loved any customer service issues. In the travel industry and beauty industry, the nice thing is that 99.9% of your clientele come back very happy or leave the salon very happy. So you have just a small percentage of possible issues. And but I enjoyed, it was a challenge for me that I could sit down with a client with a possible issue and listen. So again, that's a skill that we're teaching to our students, is that listening to your client is paramount. Making sure there's back and forth communication, that you're getting it right. So what your client is telling you. So in customer service issues, I would listen to the client. Often they might come in a little upset, but by just listening to them, it would deflate their situation. And I would communicate, let's work together and we'll, work this out. So everything can always be worked out in some way in business.
And thus, you've again highlighted some really important aspects of leadership. In addition to leading by example, which I certainly see that you are doing, you're leading by showing, by demonstrating, and by having your students practice the skills and abilities that you
Exactly.
want them to leave with. And listening, of course, listening to what your customer wants and providing what the customer wants are two fundamental reasons to even be in business. You know, if we don't have customers, we don't need to be in business. But as long as we have customers, as the customer's needs and wants change, we can respond to that and our business will continue to thrive.
Correct. I agree.
Certainly by adapting to the new hairstyles from the runway every year. I'm not sure that people would think about the necessity for the beauty business to respond to continuous changes in the environment and what that means for a school and what that means for a business, because you are both an
Correct.
education institution and a business, of course. So having to respond to those continual changes and respond quickly. So you need to be nimble in your responding.
Correct.
Now, there was one thing I also noted that you mentioned specifically was the challenge of sales when it came to specific products. And I know that you've taken the lead in this market with the introduction of specific eco-friendly products. And I'd love for you to share with our listeners how you went about that.
Okay, so typically the beauty industry, when it comes to hair salons, there is a lot of chemical use. And through my days with my children at school and volunteering, I was always part of the eco clubs in the schools and always focused on keeping our earth clean and looking out for the future for our children. So what I did was we brought in a color line called mobilize. Now mobilize, the name actually is an ancient Polynesian part of a ceremony. So village leaders in Polynesian would host these spiritual gatherings in large open areas of their volcanic land. And these gatherings were called mobilize. And in the gatherings, the natives would put oil on themselves, and the oil was called Manoi de Tahiti oil. So this hair color product and developer that we've brought in is full of this Manoi oil. And so I've brought it in to market to a client that possibly is not coloring their hair, or a client that perhaps buys organic food to that specific client. The other things that we're doing with the school is that we air dry our towels to cut back on the energy use. Our property is lined with huge pine trees, so that helps the energy consumption of the school and the building. So we're continually looking and searching for new ways to make our school green and eco-friendly.
And I think that's something that definitely would set you apart from other businesses in this environment, specifically other businesses in the beauty arena, would it not?
Oh, for sure, because typically it's mostly chemicals, which is sort of unheard of in, that people want to put chemicals on their body, because whatever goes on your body goes into your bloodstream, but that's what we all do for beauty, correct?
Vanity, thy name is woman, huh?
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, I can certainly attest to the fact that I've been amongst that group that over the years has used permanents and hair colors, permanents and semi-permanent dyes.
Correct.
And, there was even a time when I had acrylic fingernails. However, today, now it's 2016, you would not catch me anywhere near those kinds of beauty products that actually damage. If we think about the nails, the acrylic nails and some of the other products that I know many women use them, and they have beautiful manicures, but the underlying structure of the nail can be damaged by some of those products. At least that was my experience.
You're absolutely right. And also the product is not healthy for the nail technician. There's fumes that come from the products that usually fill the salon. So you have to have extremely good ventilation within the nail salon. And then as the technician is taking the acrylic nail off, typically they'll use a Dremel, which creates this dust. So you'll often see technicians wearing surgical masks so they're not breathing in the dust. So how we've dealt with this, we don't offer acrylic nails, but we offer a gel nail, which is called biosculpture, and it's made in South Africa. It's a very healthy product because when it's applied to the nail, it allows your nail to still breathe, which is sort of hard to understand, but it does. So and there's no harsh chemicals in the product. So again, we're continually bringing on different types of products that will be healthier for the client.
Right. And so not only are you taking the lead, but you are charting new territory that I imagine you hope your students will carry forward with these product lines and thus take a lead, an even greater lead in the industry.
Correct, yes.
So what are the things that you are particularly concerned that your students leave the school with?
So a lot of the things we've already talked about. So the respect when they go off to an employer, good behaviors, to always have goals and reach for the gold. But it takes a lot of hard work. So hard work is another thing we want them to leave with, because you'll see your most successful people are often working 24/7. We try to tell them, sometimes they'll get frustrated doing a particular style, but practice makes perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfect when you're learning, but it's that repeat. So that continuous doing a particular style until you have it to a point where you feel good about it and you feel confident with that particular style. I think continuous learning, and I found that through my life, is that successful people never stop learning. So no matter what age you're at. So again, we encourage our students to go off to the hair shows, to take every opportunity of if a beauty supply company is offering some type of training. We also have upgrading training here at the school, so for licensed hairstylists. So just continually learning. Keep your salon, when they leave here, keep your salon as eco-friendly as possible to help our earth. But I think most of all is I want them to leave here feeling confident. And at Alante Beauty Institute, we feel that hands-on training is very important to any trade. So we encourage customers to come into the salon. So our students get a lot of hands-on training. So to see them at the end of where they're graduating, which we have students actually graduating tomorrow, which is an absolute great thing to see, and but to leave here with confidence. And I know they have another journey through apprenticeship, but to leave here that they feel confident in what they've learned in cutting and styling and chemical services.
Yes, and I imagine that confidence is a critical element of having positive self-esteem, which we would want everyone to have a good, positive sense of their own value and capabilities, huh?
Correct. Yeah.
So, Jane, I'm imagining that some of our listeners would be interested in visiting the Alante business, whether they come to the Beauty Institute or whether they come in for the beauty supply or spa services. So how would you like them to get in touch with you?
We, on our website, which is alantebeauty.ca, there is an email that you can contact us, or by phone, which is 519-537-8800, or we'd love to see them in person, to walk into the school and salon spa at 964 Parkinson Road in Woodstock.
Right, and I'm just going to spell your website address for our listeners. So, of course, that is www.allantebeauty.ca. That's allantebeauty.ca. So, Jane, tell me what you see for yourself over the horizon. We've talked about your journey to establishing the school, and we've talked about the lead you've taken in introducing eco-friendly products and practices. What do you see as next for you?
Well, just growing the school, having more students, and to get the Alante Beauty name out into the community. I go out to high schools and do talks. So, each day, one small little marketing initiative over the years will grow. Eventually, we would like to have another school. We're possibly looking at Hamilton area or other cities too. So that's our goal. Want to continue to see growth in the school and the beauty supply and spa.
Now, I'm thinking that some of our listeners may not realize just how important it is for you to have customers or clients, meaning members of the community who come to the school and have their hair cut or styled or colored by the students. I know there's perhaps a small audience within the community that's very familiar with how beauty schools operate, but perhaps what you'd like to let our listeners know is what are the key benefits to the client of coming to a beauty school like Alante?
So it's the look of the salon is very much like any other salon, but I am being prejudiced. I think it looks very nice. And so it would begin with our students coming from the classroom, greeting our clients. We get their name and email addresses if they want to share any of that with us. The advantage, of course, is the price point. So it's considerably less here at the salon in the school, having any hair services done, from color to perms to hair straightening, hair extensions, cutting. So it's probably 1/4 of the price that you would pay at a typical salon. But the quality that leaves the salon is very high. and that's because we use a very high quality color line called Bacco, which is from Italy, and it holds colors very, very well. A lot of people have heard Schwarzkopf, which has been in business for many years, and Bacco is quite equivalent to Schwarzkopf. So during your time in the chair, the student works on your hair from whatever service you want, but our qualified instructor oversees everything. And no matter how many clients are in the salon, our teacher has lots of years of experience as a hairstylist, a licensed hairstylist, and an instructor. And so they always know what's going on in the head. When we get really busy, sometimes our instructor even goes behind a chair and cuts and colors hair. So it's quite a lovely experience to come in. People tell us that it's very relaxing. I know there's a percentage of clients that do not want students to cut their hair. All I can say is that you are helping the student, so you're helping the community by our students learning the trade, but nothing can go wrong because of our instructor being there. But we do have a few clients that come in and have just their color service done and then go back to a hairstylist and have their cut done. But the majority of our clients are having everything done here in the salon with us.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Jane, for sharing your perspectives today and giving us an idea of what the experience might be for a client at Alante. And it's time for us to wrap up our show. So again, I thank you so much for being with us today. And listeners, I hope that you'll join us next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time when we will have more conversations to mobilize today's women leaders.
Thank you for listening to Encouraging Leadership. To learn more about our host, Ann Miner, and the Acacia Institute, please visit acaciainstitute.com. Join us next week at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, for more encouraging leadership. In the meantime, be courageous.